Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the December 21st, 2015 Seminole County School Board meeting to order. At this point in time, I'd like to turn it over to Vice Chairman Lockhart to lead us in the pledge, please.
Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. Let the record reflect that we have 4 school board members in attendance: Tina Calderon, Amy Lockhart, Dee Dee Schaffner, and Karen Almond. Mr. Bauer is ill and unable to attend, and our legal counsel and superintendent are also in attendance. At this point in time, I would entertain an approval for the agenda outline.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much. At this point in time, I'd like to invite anybody from the public who wishes to address the board to fill out a comment form in the back and give it to our clerk. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to the board at this time? Seeing none, we'll move on to new business. Dr. Griffin, do you have a recommendation?
Thank you, Madam Chair. My recommendation is that the School Board of Seminole County adopt a revised policy titled Student Progression Plan as advertised for the 2015-16 school year.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? Go ahead.
I was just wondering if we could have Dr. Griffin address the reason for this meeting being at an unusual day and time because of this one item agenda.
Yes, and board members, as we're all well aware, we had our regular meeting last Tuesday. It was a full, long meeting. We had to wait until we went through the advertisement period for the changes to the student progression plan, which I believe is 28 days. Is that correct, Ms. Beeman? And so we had to have it today so we can have things in place for second semester, which begins on January the 4th.
Okay, thank you. I know
May I add to that, please?
Yes.
And didn't we bring it before the board a number of times and in front of the public a number of times prior to today?
Absolutely, and including full staff discussion for all the reasons for it. And we had some public comment prior to the changes that are ensued in this.
Thank you.
And Dr. Griffin, in reply to what we heard from all of the public and the input, do you feel this document addresses all of the needs that we heard from our citizens?
I believe it does. I think that first point that we heard is that when students take high school honors courses in middle school, they want, and we agree, that they should be treated exactly as high school honors courses taken in high school, so they will be weighted exactly the same. 9-week exams were an issue for middle school, and this reduces the weight from 20% down to 10% for middle school courses, but of course keeps it 20% for high school courses that are taken. And I think the biggest was getting rid of the famous conversion chart, and that the middle schools selected either a percentage basis, an A through F basis, or total points. So I think it took care of everything that we heard from our public, also from our principals and from our teachers.
Thank you. Ms. Lockhart.
Would individual teachers have the option to use one of each of those choices, or is an entire school determining how all of their teachers will use?
Dr. Wyndham can give you the details, but I know that what I saw was that they're looking at it by departments. Okay. So a math department at one school may decide to do a different method than possibly the language arts department, but really it's a local school-based decision at this point.
Okay.
Same as high school, they have the 3
Right.
choices.
Any other comments or questions, board members? Seeing none, there's a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. Dr. Griffin, do you have a superintendent's report?
Yes, we do. XQT members, come on down. I think Dr. Harper is going to kick it off for us.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Dr. Griffin, Chairman Calderon, and members of the board, thank you for this exciting afternoon and an opportunity to present to you XQ, the Super School project. I'm not going to steal my co-presenter's thunder on what this project is about. I will just give you a little bit of background. I hope that as we move through the next few slides, you'll see Dr. Griffin's vision and leadership in this project. A project that has been rather evolutionary in nature. You'll know, as you already do, that we have the Computer Science 2020, also referred to as CS 2020. We have our kindergarten coding, and we have ePathways, among other initiatives that you should see spread throughout this project. In fact, we began this project even before the competition was formally announced last year, with Dr. Griffin being the only public school superintendent invited to the Future Ready School Initiative in Washington, D.C., followed by the visit of his team to the Chicago Summit, and then culminating last summer with some exciting events in Cupertino with the visit to Apple. So with that said, I'm going to introduce the presenters today, Mr. Derek Jensen, who's to my left, followed by Ms. Beth Pocius and Mr. Ryan Peets, and they're going to go through the next few slides for you.
Thank you, Dr. Harper. Good afternoon, board members. Happy holidays. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here to present the XQ Super School project to you, which is really a national campaign, a national competition that aligns to some of our core values here in Seminole County, those values of innovation, student-focused instruction, and college and career readiness. So XQ asked citizens to reimagine and modernize the high school experience, and they've really publicized this nationally and flooded the airwaves with this huge PR campaign to modernize the high school experience. They have billboards, they have TV ads, they've conducted a robust social media campaign, all to garner support for this cause. There's even high-quality design kits that they're sending out to anyone who'd like to participate. We have an example on the table here, and you've been provided with materials from one of those design kits as well. What I'd like to do to get started today is really kick us off with one of the television advertisements that XQ is running to kind of showcase what their concept is, what they're doing, and the tone they're setting for these teams.
Hey America, do you remember when we were in a race to get to the moon first? You probably don't because you're too young. Long story short, we totally put a dude on the moon. It was epic. This is a reminder that we need to shoot for the moon again. Which brings me to high school. Yeah, ew, but we need to talk about high school. While American public high schools have remained mostly unchanged for 100 years, other countries have invested in innovation, and now we're lagging behind. Out of 34 countries, we are 17th in reading, 20th in science, and 27th in math. So, we're having a competition to reimagine high school. And you're all invited, every city in town, every educator and innovator, every CEO, every parent, every student. Come on, we're all in this together. Let's win this brain race. Are you with me, America? Let's rethink high school. The future won't wait.
So it's very stylish and very enthusiastic, but what exactly is the XQ Super School project? It's a competition funded by Lorraine Powell Jobs Foundation, and it cites a number of statistics about dropout rates, about student engagement and performance, and it proposes that high schools need to be redesigned. To this end, they're offering funding in the amount of a $10 million grant to winning teams awarded over 5 years at $2 million per year. And although Seminole County is already a high-performing school district, we think the ideas behind this competition really align to our core values well, and that that participating in this will be valuable to continuing our place as an innovative school district. So, XQ encourages any person, it does not have to be school districts, it can be any person who has an idea about how high school should change, to form a team and participate in this competition. They do so by going to the website at xqsuperschool.org, and they form a team and then submit an application by February 1st, 2016. You can see at the bottom of this slide there's a challenge timeline for participating, and it opened in September, and then there was kind of an initial concept submission period by November 15th. It was more of a soft deadline. It wasn't a key date in the competition. The primary date is February 2016, where Teams will submit the discover and design phases of their application, and from there, the judges for the XQ Super School project will select 50 national semifinalist teams. They'll be notified in March of 2016 that they're national semifinalists, and they will complete their application through the development of their school concept, and then the 5 finalists of those 50 teams will be selected and awarded in April of 2016.
And Derek, it's the $10 million awards, it's $2 million over for 5 years, correct?
Correct, $2 million a year for 5 years. So on the left-hand side of this slide are the sections of the online application. And you can see that the first thing every team does is team up. So you invite people into your team, and you have this collaborative team online. You develop a concept, which Dr. Griffin will share with you very, very shortly. Then they create a discover phase, a design phase, and if you're a national semifinalist, a development phase. We really want to stress that this is a student-driven competition. So student voice is what's behind our application and our vision, and pretty much everything we do in Seminole County schools. So students led the development of our XQ Super School concept, not just through this team we currently have, but through past projects we've done in Seminole County, like our Future Ready Students Committee, as well as ePathways and all of the amazing programs they have. We do have student panels, though, and we are asking them to discover what they want and need, and then they're coordinating the design of a school that helps meet those needs. And without further ado, I would like to share the idea for that school with you, except I would like Dr. Griffin to share it with you because he's so visionary and passionate about this idea.
Thank you, Derek. Board members, the concept or the idea that we're putting forward, I think will serve this community as a whole. And if you look in the center of this slide, it says problem-solving incubator, right in the middle there. And let me tell you what we're thinking about in concept. And I have to tell you, I have an idea, and then they are making it come to life and happen. They've done a lot of work to get this where it needs to be. But what we vision is, and let's just think about Seminole County for now, although we could think about the state or the nation, is that real problems could be brought to our students. So just say that there are water issues, or bear issues, or traffic issues, or whatever. Real issues that our county government or city governments are working on that maybe cannot get the research or the time that they need to solve the problems, to bring an authentic problem to the incubator, and students for credit would interact with experts, do the academic work that they need, master the standards through application. So a student working, for example, on a quality of water project, think of all the science and math implications just there, where we could rewrite courses through the Department of Education, where a student could satisfy a course by proving mastery of the standards through an application design. So we would seek out problems that need real solutions to the incubator. Students would then work in groups on their particular problems. And we would include an expert or experts, depending on where they are, probably a professor, and definitely an instructor to make sure the students were mastering the standards that they had to make. But they would work through the whole process and then bring the solution to whatever party was asking for the research and for the solution. So we tried a little piece of this. I think most of you probably heard about this. County Commissioner DeLaurie had, I think it was DeGreat teaching. He spoke at Lawton Elementary School, and they've been struggling with it's a simple problem, or these would be more complex, a simple traffic pattern next to Lawton. And he said he's had engineers work on this. You know, he's an engineer, that everybody has worked on this. And he called me after meeting with 2 fifth grade groups, and he said, you know, Walt, I think they solved it. You know, so because they saw it through a different lens, and they actually are in the traffic every day. And these are 5th graders. So if you think about, you know, all the things that we talk about, Tony Wagner's work, you know, where students through play discover their passions, but this generation wants to have purpose. They want to give back. So I really see our students interacting with scientists, professors, experts, in an incubator setup, maybe maker spaces, to create solutions to real problems. So it's I think it's a different way to educate. But when we visit classrooms, the classrooms where the students are most engaged, they're doing actual work. Students don't necessarily want fake problems. You give them a real problem, and they're very concerned about the earth, about environmental issues, and I believe that we can really get some traction. We would work very, very closely with Seminole State and UCF. We already have that great partnership there to bring experts to our students and let them work on some real work. So that's the basic concept.
Great.
Thank you, Dr. Griffin. As part of this competition, the XQ project really asks teams to bring together a diverse array of voices to help realize these concepts. And so to talk about the human components of our application is Beth.
Thank you, Derek. So as you've already heard, this really isn't about us as Seminole County Public Schools or the district bringing forward an idea. What the XQ Super School project focuses on for us is that we are listening to our students. We are listening to the members of our community, and we are listening to the parents that we serve. We are listening to our business leaders and business partners, and we're trying to come together in a consensus to a way that we can empower students to have more of a voice and a choice in how they want to solve these very real problems. So listening to these voices is how we are framing the PSI, the Problem Solving Institute. It is focused on solving problems that exist right here in Seminole County Public Schools, but the focus is on using student passion and students' brilliance and their collaborative brainstorming to really come up with meaningful solutions to these problems that are brought forward. We also have several teams that have come together at this point in time to just bring the project to where we are to date. So the first team that was created was the district level leadership team, and that is led by Dr. Griffin, but we have many members on that team, including Drs. Cody, Wysung, Wilson, and Dr. Harper. We work closely with Dr. Blazewicz on the district level team since we are concentrating, this competition is concentrated at the high school level. And then of course the members you see here before you today, we represent the district leadership team. But that is certainly not where this ends. That would be where it begins. We have a district design team that just began meeting last week. The district design team is comprised of members from ePathways, Department of Teaching and Learning, from Marketing and Communications, from Information Services. They're all coming together to really form the think tank for how we are going to craft this very intense submission for this competition. And then last but certainly not least are our student partners in this team. Our students are the driving force for this particular application, and every high school has submitted at least one name to Derek so that he can begin working with those students in a collaborative space to create some of these assets for the competition submission. And that begins as soon as we return from winter break in January. So it is with that I would ask Ryan Peets to provide you with some additional updates regarding how social media is playing a very large role in this competition.
Thank you. Good afternoon, board members. So as Derek stated earlier, this competition started back in November. When we started forming that district team that Beth was just talking about, we immediately wanted to get the information out to the schools. So with Dr. Blazewitz's help, the three of us split up, went out to each of the high schools, presented this opportunity to each of the high schools and explained to them what XQ Super School Project was. And since then, we've heard back that Lake Howell, Winter Springs, and Lake Brantley have formed teams. Some schools have multiple teams, others have at least one team that we are aware of. And again, those are just ones that we are aware of. There could be multiple at each of those schools, and then also some at some of the other high schools throughout the district. We delivered the design kits to them. We told them that they can order these. We gave them some of the resources and things that we had. We asked them to invite us to be part of their team to help with supporting their team and their ideas. And as you can see from this slide, again, this is not just school driven. It does not have to be schools. It can be any members of the community. It can be a women's club, a men's club. It can be Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. The competition is open to anyone nationally. So we just wanted to make you aware of that as well. One of the things that XQ is using is social media, because that is where a lot of our high school students are these days, is in social media. So they have a huge presence on Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook. So you may see the hashtag Rethink High School. That is their official hashtag for this XQ project. Or you may see their Twitter handle at XQ America. Actually, as we are presenting this to you, Dr. Wilson has taken a few pictures, and he is going to post those on Twitter. So we would encourage that if you do see any of those hashtags or Twitter handles for the XQ America in support of SCPS, that you either retweet, or if you're on Facebook, that you would like those posts as well. So to give you a little bit more insight as to what is next in this project, I'm going to hand it back over to Derek.
Thank you, Ryan. So obviously we have a lot going on in January for the XQ Super Schools project. It's a robust application and an exciting idea, and I'm thrilled to be part of it with everyone who's participating, district leadership, students, teachers, community members. What we're going to be up to is in January, students will be meeting with us weekly, forming teams. We'll also be reaching out to schools to maybe conduct panels at different school sites as well, but we'll have a regular team meeting here at the county office. And all of this working towards our February 1st deadline with the concept, discover, and design components of the application due by then, so that we can be considered for one of those national semifinalist slots. And then we'll keep our ear out for the announcement of the national semifinalists in March, and of course we'll get back to you with that information as well. To close out the presentation for today, I'd like to bring in Dr. Harper with some final thoughts for us.
So just reflecting back on when we, as I said, this kind of began really out of Dr. Griffin's vision before there was even an XQ Super School project. And as you can see, hopefully, we've been working on initiatives like this. It's amazing to watch his mind work when we're in those little spaces and he has a whiteboard at his disposal. And there were 3 pieces of literature.
Amazing doesn't mean good.
Sure it does.
That he brought forward to us, and I think it kind of frames it for us, and I'm just going to read a quote or two out of one of them. But we're all aware of Carol Dweck's mindset, pathways to prosperity, and then creating innovators. So out of creating innovators, I think just to leave this with you, so if we are to remain globally competitive in today's world, and I want you to think about high school students as I read this quote, we need to produce more than just a few entrepreneurs and innovators. This isn't about a few students who are AP or IB. This is an opportunity for all students. We need to develop the creative and enterprising capacities of all of our students, and that really is what this is about. So thank you very much, and I think we actually have a couple of questions that
I don't think anyone else has engaged their board in the process at all. And I'd like to just ask a couple of questions and just have the team just gather some feedback from the board. If you go to the last page of the presentation, there's 2 little slides there. One is your future, and then below it, there's a couple of questions. I think the first thing, board members, thinking of students, what is your vision of the American dream for our students? Think about that for a few minutes. What is your vision of the American dream for our students? Please. Yeah.
For me, I think it would be that they achieve what they want to achieve, and that it allows them to be independent, successful to whatever degree they wish that to be. Some of us have higher goals than others, or are more satisfied, quicker.
Good.
And I think, too, that they would be allowed to pursue whatever their dream is, their American dream. Everybody's American dream is different. And so that we would have the opportunity to give them the background that they could feel comfortable going out and pursuing that dream, whatever it may be.
And I think what I wish for my own children is what I think I wish for all children in Seminole County schools, is that they can find their passion, to develop a purpose for what they're here for, and for it to be self-sustaining, that they earn enough that they don't need assistance from anyone else, and they learn how important it is to give back to the community. So,
I think we're all sort of thinking in the same vein. I think that generations prior had didn't have a patterning like we have today, that you have to fit into a specific mold in order to be successful, which is very much like what everyone is saying. You know, every one of our students has been gifted with a particular talent, and I think the way our school system is currently set up, it doesn't allow all of those talents to truly be developed. We're testing our kids to death, and so many of the talents that our students possess can't be tested. Right. They're not measurable gifts and talents. And I think that would be, more than anything, I want all of our students to not feel less about themselves because they don't fit a particular mold that's being tested.
Excellent. Any
Well,
additional
I think all of us have said at one time or another to either our own kids or others, you've got a lot of years to work, and if you aren't in a career where you have a passion for it, then you're going to hate getting up and going to work every morning. I would hate to think that somebody would spend 50 years dreading where they have to go at 8 o'clock in the morning on Monday through Friday. And I know a lot of people who have done that, and hopefully we offer enough options that kids can have and I think it's important with electives. I've always been a pro lots of different electives in the schools, because sometimes you stumble into something, you have no idea you're interested in it. And example, when my son was at Lyman, he took an aeronautics class that he just loved, blossomed in it. I mean, he would never have thought of going into that if it was just happened to be an elective that he took while he was there. He didn't end up majoring in it, but it just opened up a whole new, and he's now a pilot. But it's just the opportunities that we present for them just to scratch the surface. And a lot of times you get into it and you say, "Ugh, this isn't what I don't like this at all." But think of the people that go to college and after 4 years say, "Oh, I wish I hadn't done this." So I feel like as a high school, the more opportunities we can give for them just to figure out what they're interested in and what they're not. Because so many kids say, "Oh gosh, I'm going to college and I don't know what I'm going to major in." You don't have to, so I think our opportunities that we offer are critical.
Anything else? I occasionally reread Tom Brokaw's The Greatest Generation. I'm sure all of you have read it. And I hope that this generation takes the opportunity to be contributors. I think that with the technology and the resources, a school system like ours that is willing to be flexible and do things differently, I think they have those opportunities. And I look forward to what this generation can bring us. I think with the right guidance, they're a passionate group of students, and you see that day in and day out. And I'm excited about what our future holds because of what I see in a lot of our students. So I appreciate your input. This is a very important project to us. And even if we don't get the grant, the interaction with students and helping fuel our mission and our vision will get us to really good places. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
But I've always felt that it's important to go down and talk to the troops. You can be a general, but if you don't go down to the troops and talk about how this is going to affect them, or give us your input, and the troops are the ones, they're students. We need to be listening to them. So I think it's a great opportunity.
Yeah.
Sounds great. And like you say, even if we don't get the grants, even better.
That's right. That's right.
Is there anything else that we can do to assist you with this project as a school board?
Well, thank you for asking, but we just really appreciate, like Dr. Griffin said, I don't know of any other district in the state of Florida, maybe even nationally, that would devote this time as a school board to listen to a project of this nature. So just you listening today and the input that you have, we really appreciate. So I think that just adds more support to us going forward. It's like Dr. Griffin said, these young men and women are really leading the charge for us, and they're collecting the information. It definitely needs to be student-driven. They're the ones that are sitting in the seats right now. So I know there is another question, and as we go through the next several weeks, even over the holidays, as we relax, if there is a question that you would like to ask a student, what does high school, or what should high school look like in the future for maybe their younger brother or sister coming up? If there's a question that you'd like for us to ask, let us know. If you're out in the community visiting schools and something you hear just strikes a chord about the XQ Super Project, we're here. We are competing against other teams, so we value any input that you have, and that really is one of the reasons that we are here today.
If you think it wouldn't squelch any of the good organization or communication with the students, I, for one, would love to be invited just to observe, you know, any of the sessions to see the energy, because I think all of us,
To be a fly on the wall.
we get a lot of excitement over being in the schools because we love seeing what the students are doing, love seeing what the teachers are doing, but this is a
Absolutely.
very unique opportunity. But I wouldn't want to stop any communication if there were too many adults in the room or they knew who we were. So just know that we're all here to support your great work, and thank you for your leadership, and hope things work out well. But just as we do with the capstone project at Oviedo High School, or we do with the interviews over at Crooms Academy, I think, Dr. Griffin, you and your team have really walked into something that is a good, replicable opportunity for all of our students district-wide. So thank you. Ms. Almond?
Trying to determine how the standards would be worked into this, or if they would be. Would someone come up with a problem, and you would kind of have your staff look at it, analyze it, and determine?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And not only that, but we've actually had discussions about that. I won't pretend to be a standards expert, but with my background as a teacher, we have talked about how we would wrap the core courses and those standards around the project, so it wouldn't exclude any of the math or physics, science, language arts teachers. As they go through the project, we want them to be able to clearly articulate their work, to define the problem, to model the problem. So all of those standards, all of those core curricular pieces of information would be wrapped around the project.
Thank you.
And I've got two things. How many students are you estimating would be involved in this first go-around?
We're still conceptualizing how many students would be enrolled at a school like this, but it might not be even an enrollment issue if this, like Dr. Griffin alluded to, is more of a program that can kind of be instituted at all of our high schools, where they're all kind of feeding their areas of expertise into this style of program, all of our different programs of emphasis, and students with all of our different specializations and skills. It might be a place where students come for a period of time to work on a project, and then so it might serve a greater number of students than just a finite enrollment.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Ms. Schaffner, I think, as we all see with the science projects, these kids are unbelievably equipped in terms of their science knowledge, that I think it would be really an application of the science projects. Being able to take all of that knowledge and be able to solve some problems with it. And Ms. Ahmed, I think going back to your question, it's going to be really a customized, standard-based course for each individual project that we will get approved by DOE. And they are pretty open to courses that we send up there, especially if we're looking at a combination of career and academics. And I think, so the answer really is we're going to have to customize it for each student, and they're still going to have to show mastery in their standards, and they will. Because when they're applying something, they don't even realize they're doing the work. And we'll have, of course, some professors and teachers help us with that.
Thank you.
Ms. Schaffner?
This is a little aside, but I was over at Evoke Advertising. Have you been in that office?
Yes, I have. Yes, ma'am. About a year ago.
It is an incredible, unique setting for an office setting, but certainly the offices of the future, and the way even the furniture, everything in there is just so forward-thinking. But it's all so that you can do a lot of group projects, group conversations. They're right over here by the Marriott Hotel on the top floor of the building over there. It's fascinating just to walk around and see the way they have things set up over there so that it's very conducive to group conversations. Whiteboards, with seats around them so that we can talk, let's think what we're going to do. Just, this is a little aside from the topic, I know, but just happened to think about that when you were talking about it.
Great things can come from those maker spaces. When I had the opportunity to go to the Autism Conference in D.C., we had students there displaying their science work and interacting with people at the national level. And one girl from a different state actually designed an artificial arm. I mean, just amazing work. She's still in high school, from scratch. Really, she told me, I spoke to her for quite a while. She did bits and pieces from YouTube. She figured this out, figured this out, figured this out. But just amazing work when you put students in these maker spaces to solve real problems. We're very lucky to have Seminole State and UCF right around the corner. Many school districts don't have that. They're far away from a major research center.
Well, those two students from UCF that built the bionic arm,
Yeah.
I mean, that was incredible. They got national attention over that.
And I do want to make sure, I'm not sure if we mentioned it, but we have full intentions of including ESE students and ESOL students because they bring different contributions to the table, and we have to include those students.
Great.
So one of the things that I think we forget sometimes in a bureaucracy is how quickly the real world moves around us, and that these real world problems need faster solutions than typical government bureaucracy provides. So, and this isn't really, I mean, I'm not raining on your parade. I'm just saying that we'll probably need to find a solution or a way to make the process move more quickly, because sometimes these problems, they come up and they want to, the problems may not always wait for DOE to give us approval for a course code. Right. I mean, I don't know what that sort of, but it's funny because sometimes government says, government should be more like business, but then we have all of these regulations in the way that keep us from really being more like business. So it'll be interesting to see if DOE would be willing to work with us on that and perhaps give a different path that could be expedited. Because to me, that just, as soon as you said DOE has to approve it, my heart sank a little bit.
Yeah, and that would be, and I want to be real clear about that, because DOE would have to approve if we want a student to get credit for calculus or physics, but right out of the gate, we'd put the students in a research course. We have that course code, and then add to, because you're exactly right, if the county is trying to solve a problem about the bears, let's say, they can't wait for 6 months for approval and so on, so it would morph into those courses, but we would already have the research courses ready to go as soon as the problem is identified.
Okay, all right, that makes me feel a little better.
Good point. Anything else, Dr. Harper?
Sounds exciting.
Thank you, team,
Sounds
for your
great.
leadership. We're real excited, and let us know how we can
Thank
support
you.
your great work.
Wasn't that bad, was it?
Not at all.
I keep telling people we don't bite.
And board members, before we adjourn, I want to wish each and every one of you a happy holiday and thank you for the service that you give to our students and to our staff and to the citizens of Seminole County. We are very, very blessed to have each of you sitting up here, and we all know that.
Oh, it's our pleasure. And Merry Christmas to you and to our entire phenomenal team and community. I hope you take some time to rejuvenate and relax, enjoy family and friends. You all have deserved it, and I have a feeling 2016 is going to be our best year yet.
Yep.
My pleasure to work with all of you on a great mission. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else for the good of the order?
Don't think so.
Seeing none,
Merry
this meeting
Christmas.
stands
Merry
adjourned.
Christmas to
Merry
you.
Christmas.